Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. This Sunday, the New York Jets at 2-8 go and visit the 5-5 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have won 4 straight games. They've won the last 3 games with Lamar Jackson back and find themselves in the thick of the playoff hunt, while the Jets, after winning 2 straight games surrounding their bye week, they lose on Thursday night to the Patriots. And as we said after that game, the Jets were a more traditional bad team in that loss. They had good fight. Justin Fields cannot throw competently. So even though he was running effectively and Breece Hall tried to find some room to run on the ground, they lost to the Patriots. And it made sense that after an extended week, a longer week after playing on Thursday, it was the right time for Aaron Glenn to move on from Justin Fields. And you get the sense, although Aaron Glenn, who at one point in the offseason talked about how he'd be transparent about injuries and all these things, and he clearly has not followed through with that, his saying nothing to me could point to that Tyrod Taylor just has not been healthy enough to start, and he finally is this week. And if that's the answer, that's the answer. He should have been forthright about it. Playing this game about Justin Fields doesn't help anyone. You know, he didn't help him succeed at all in his last 2 games that he played against the Browns and against the Patriots. So it is Tyrod Taylor time. And the fun part of the rest of this year for the Jets, besides hopefully being competitive against what is a weak schedule coming up, is there's this batch of young receivers they now have, and A.D. Mitchell and John Mechie and Arian Smith. You, of course, can add in Mason Taylor to that mix, and you have a running back in Isaiah Davis. And what you want to see from these young skill position players on offense is who's a part of the future. And A.D. Mitchell was a hot button topic after this game. He was a part of the Sauce Gardner deal. He was a touted prospect out of college, had some injury issues and missed some time, but he is someone who clearly can get open. He looked like an explosive receiver in that game. He had 3 balls that hit his hands, and he can't bring them all in, and we can argue about if they were good throws or not. It doesn't matter. If the ball hits your hands, you should catch it. But against the Ravens defense, that is a bottom 3 defense across the board. They don't stop the run particularly well. They don't stop the pass very well. Overall, this should be a game in which Tyrod Taylor, who is a professional quarterback in this league, can get the ball to these young guys, and let's see what they got. You know, Arian Smith only had 7 snaps on offense against the Patriots, and it seems like he's played himself off of this roster. And he is a huge disappointment with a 4th-round pick. He should look a lot better than he has. But this is another week where he has an opportunity to show something. Mason Taylor is going to put together what ends up being a nice rookie campaign catching the ball. And Mechie and Mitchell are 2 guys who could be receivers behind Garrett Wilson in 2026, assuming they bring in a young quarterback to be the one throwing to them. The Ravens, they have played better of late. You know, they've won 4 straight after the really bad start. They have Lamar Jackson back. Over the last 4 weeks, they've held their opponents to under 20 points. So they certainly have played better on the defensive front. Those teams they faced, though, were Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, and Cleveland. So not exactly high-flying offenses. But Baltimore has a chance to win their division. Their best bet to make the playoffs is probably to win the division. It is unclear if Aaron Rodgers will play this weekend because of a wrist injury, so it could be Mason Rudolph for Pittsburgh. So Baltimore cannot let up against the Jets. There's no trap games when you're 5-5 with less than half of your schedule left to go. And they already had their bye week that led into this 4-game winning streak. So they need to blow out the Jets, right? The Baltimore is looking for blood. They are double-digit favorites in this game on Sunday. And Lamar Jackson, it's another week where he's getting healthier and healthier. And the Jets' defense is going to have a lot of problems with this offense. Derrick Henry has run the ball effectively the last 4 weeks. We know what Lamar Jackson can do running the ball. Zay Flowers, who lines up in the slot almost 40% of the time, who's Baltimore's leading receiver, should feast on whoever's lined up against him in this Jets secondary that is banged up on top of just being thin with talent overall. So it's going to be a test for this defense. And Brownlee Jr. and Brandon Stevens had a really bad day last Thursday. So they have an opportunity to show that they're better than they showed that game. It was rough to watch. The penalties, the broken plays, more bad defense from Jamie and Sherwood as well. So where things could get ugly on Sunday for the Jets is if this Baltimore offense is just relentless, as they should be, against a Jets defense that is not great. On the flip side, though, if the Jets can replicate some of what they did against the Patriots on offense and run the ball effectively with Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis, Tyrod Taylor gives you some mobility so he can run around a little bit, and you control the clock, and that's how you make this game manageable. The biggest overarching part of each game this year is going to be a test for Aaron Glenn to show that this team has not quit on him. And so far, I think it's fair to say that they have not quit on him. But losing out is not an option for Aaron Glenn, certainly. Losing to Baltimore is fine. They should lose to Baltimore. You don't want to see a no-show, but this game is one that can really only do positives. If the Jets come out and really fight and make this a competitive game on Sunday, say they lose by one score again, I think that will be a ringing endorsement for Aaron Glenn. But the offense needs to get the ball to Breece Hall. They need to find the way to get him to catch the ball. He should not have a game where he has one target. The last 2 games, he has 3 total targets, which is inexcusable. And this is an offense that I think has played poorly because of the quarterback play, but now they need to show that that's the case. Tyrod Taylor playing, Wilby Fields as the backup, but I think there's a world at some point where we do see Brady Cook, and anyone who thinks that we're about to get a snippet of someone with potential, there's a reason why Brady Cook's not even a conversation right now. He is a raw prospect, had a very nice college career. We're probably going to see him play at the end of the season. I think it makes sense to, as you get to the end of the schedule. But if you think that you're ready to find a secret weapon in Brady Cook, you're going to be greatly disappointed. Sunday against Baltimore is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for a lot of players to play for a paycheck. It's an opportunity for Aaron Glenn to show that he has control over this team still. And Tyrod Taylor is someone who could be a backup on a team next year. I don't think he's going to retire. And overall, it's another week for the Jets just to steady the ship. Right now, in terms of draft scenarios, there's some bad teams playing each other. So, win or lose, the Jets aren't going to end up in the top 3 in the draft order this year. I don't see that happening. I don't see the Jets losing out. I probably see them winning 2 games across this schedule. So the thought of tanking for Mendoza, tanking for a top 2 or 3 pick, I think is really foolish, because if they do lose to the Saints and they do lose to the Dolphins and they're not competitive against Baltimore and the Patriots again, if you can't beat the Falcons and you lose to them as well, that means there's something seriously wrong with this team. So I'm rooting for them to win. I always want to see the Jets win. If by week 17 they want to throw Brady Cook out there and it doesn't hurt you to lose the games and it doesn't hurt the team's morale long term, then I'm fine with that. But if you're playing Tyrod Taylor, it means you're playing to win. And they need to show that they're there to win for Aaron Glenn. I've spent a lot of time this season really bashing Aaron Glenn, and I think it's all deserved. But there's some positives that are trickling through this team, and part of it's the coaching staff he assembled. One, I think Darren Muji is a promising GM, but Tanner Engstrand, I think, has been good. I think Engstrand is a guy who has shown he can scheme guys open and get players in a place to be successful. I think Fields has limited his offense. And if you look at the Lions, they pretty much demoted John Morton, who's the one they chose to replace Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator. So my guess is if the Lions could do it all over again, they would have Engstrand as their offensive coordinator. So that's a win, certainly, for Aaron Glenn. And I understand why you bring in a guy like Steve Wilks to be your defensive coordinator when you're a rookie head coach, specifically a person with the specialty on that side of the ball. Wilks does have experience as a head coach. He's been in the league for a long time, but it is clear that he can't be here next year. This defense has been really bad and has underperformed in a lot of ways. It underperformed in a way that led to them selling away their 2 best players in Sauce Gardner and in Quinnen Williams, and made Michael Carter II, who I think's a good player, made him completely useless on this team. So they traded him to the Eagles. But The piece of this puzzle that I don't think will be here will be Steve Wilks. And I think at this point, it's clear that Glenn is coming back. Engstrand is certainly coming back. And I don't think he'll get any head coaching looks, but he's certainly proven to be a competent offensive coordinator. And now does this brain trust give you the faith that they can pick a quarterback and grow them into a legitimate NFL quarterback? And I want them to show us that in these remaining games by putting up a fight. There's no winning in losing out. There's no winning in looking like a complete dumpster fire. Look what's happening with the Giants right now. They've got hurt players, pushing guys at WWE events. You got guys in, whether he was asleep or Abdul Carter was in a healing tank and no one goes to get him for a walkthrough, so he gets benched. The inmates are running the asylum in the other team in New York with the Giants. The Jets need to prove that that's not the case and that this is a good landing spot for someone. And also that a veteran quarterback who's going to shake free, and there will be some. Maybe the Jets are a one-year stop I want to make to revitalize my career. I don't think Kirk Cousins would excite me, but if you told me that they make some moves to trade up for Mendoza, or they draft more if he does come out and they need a veteran there to start for 1 year, that's a situation I could get behind. But overall, Aaron Glenn to this point has shown that the wheels have not completely fallen off. They've just played a lot of bad football. And I think it is okay to hold him responsible for some of the defensive flaws of this team. So from the Baltimore perspective, again, they're 5-5. They need to win, as Houston gets a big win last night against the Bills. So Houston is 6-5 and right in the wild card contention. The wild card grouping is really, really tight. And you look at the AFC South, which for years has been the AFC South Invitational, right? Usually it's Houston and the rest of the teams are not that good. There's a world where 3 teams from the AFC South make the playoffs. The Colts are obviously the favorite to win that division, and the Jaguars are right in it, and so is Houston. Houston has played really well of late, and it means that Baltimore needs to take care of business now. They have to take advantage of what is a really weak schedule as a whole. After the bye week, Baltimore had Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, all wins. And, Minnesota is a mess right now. J.J. McCarthy, who I knew would not be good, has been really a mess. We know Cleveland's terrible, although they only won by a touchdown last week over Cleveland. And Miami is Miami. But they have the Jets, and then the next 3 weeks they have Pittsburgh, Cincy, Pittsburgh. And that's Baltimore's season right there. And Joe Burrow is practicing, which means that there might be some life here from Cincinnati. And Aaron Rodgers might not be playing in the next couple of weeks. So the Jets is the last cupcake on this schedule before they hit a really tough final stretch of Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cincy, New England, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. So if Baltimore loses on Sunday to the Jets, you can almost say their season is over. And that's why I think this game is going to be ugly, and you just want to see the Jets have some fight in them. And if they do lose to the Jets, one interesting wrinkle to all of this is, does this make it easier for Baltimore to move on from John Harbaugh? Because, listen, losing to the Jets is an embarrassment. The Jets' only wins are the Bengals that didn't have Joe Burrow and the Browns, who were the Browns. So if they all of a sudden add a third win in the AFC North and beat the Ravens, maybe Harbaugh's time is done, and that'd be the only position where I think maybe Woody Johnson just empties the tank, opens the checkbook, and says, hey, John, you name the number, you're the Jets' next head coach. But it makes that tricky with a guy like Aaron Glenn, because if you do that, you got to land the guy, or else you might ruin your relationship with Aaron Glenn forever. So there are implications to this game on Sunday. And the Jets aren't playing meaningful football in terms of making the playoffs, but I think it is a meaningful game about the trajectory of the rest of the season, the trajectory of the Ravens' rest of the season, and what could be some coaching shakeups down the line. So the other keys I want to see, again, Breece Hall getting involved, a real opportunity for A.D. Mitchell and John Mechie, Mason Taylor, another opportunity to put some stats on the board. But also, it's time for Isaiah Davis to step up. Isaiah Davis finds himself on the field a lot of times on third down and in key third down positions. And besides that one big play against the Bengals, really has not shown a big burst. And he could be an odd man out with Braylon Allen coming back next year from injury. He needs to show something against a defense that's not very good. And on the defensive side, Will McDonald's looking to get the double-digit sacks. Jermaine Johnson is looking to continue a strong stretch of play since he's been healthy again. We know what the corners have to do, and it's just going to be, everyone playing for a job. Quincy Williams is looking for a big payday still. I think any hope of him signing with the Jets again is gone, and it's probably time to move on from Quincy Williams from a Jets perspective. But he's playing for a big contract. Jamien Sherwood is playing to make sure that he's still on this roster, even though he just got a payday. So there's a lot of interesting parts of this Jets roster. It almost feels like preseason again, where we're talking about guys playing for jobs and guys saving jobs. And it's frustrating too, looking at the standings, the AFC is wide open. It's a shame that the Jets are just so incompetent that they can't even be at a game below 500. If they're a game below 500 or 2 games below 500, you're still saying, hey, if you win this game, you've got a chance. There's Dolphins fans like Don Papa texting me, hey, Miami wins a game, who knows? You want to be able to build some sort of bridge to hope, and there is no bridge to hope for this Jets team, of course, right now. So my overall prediction for this game, I do think it's going to be a blowout. The Ravens need it to be a blowout. This is a win they need to secure. It's on the road in a hard place for the Jets. So I think it's going to be something along the lines of 37-17 Baltimore. And I do think the pressure is off Glenn, unlike the last stretch heading into the bye week. Just get yourself ready for more quarterback questions if Tyrod does not play particularly well against a bad defense. And I think we're leading up to the Brady Cook conversation. And I've been saying it all year that Brady Cook is not a guy I want to watch play, but it feels inevitable. And with a loss against Baltimore and subpar play by Taylor, there's not an appetite to see any more of Justin Fields. So I think you're going to hear a chorus singing for Brady Cook. So let's see if we get to that point heading into next week. We'll enjoy the football on Sunday. A lot of interesting games besides this one. This has been episode 33 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. Thank you for listening.